Welcome everybody in the studio from the Overkill Festival. We are here this morning with Eike and with Moth here, who all the way from New Zealand. So that's pretty cool. It's an early interview for us and a late interview for you. We're going to spend a little hour together talking about the game This Too Shall Pass, which is presented in our online exhibition, which you can visit until tomorrow evening. And that, of course, you can play when you go onto the page of Moth on itch.io. Yeah. So first, maybe welcome, Moth. Can you tell us a little bit, what is this game?
Right, so This Too Shall Pass is kind of a game, kind of an art project, kind of like a performance art piece about the unending passing of time and the end of everything. So it's a very cheerful game about basically climate change and sort of the climate disaster that we're in currently. It's a game that originally was very limited, came on like a USB stick that would travel the world. And you would find a USB stick, plug it in, or like be given the USB stick, plug it in, and it would like figure out where you are in the world and generate that part of the world inside the game that you could then explore and find all of these like ancient ruins and creatures hovering in the sky. And you could explore this world. And as you explore, life starts growing around you, trees start growing, grass starts growing. And it's just like a very slow meditation on, just life and the passing of things. Once the USB sticks kind of did their rounds across the world, I ended up releasing a version that you can now download on itch.io. That's kind of like a sort of final mix of the various versions that have traveled across the world.
Exactly. What because people could play different version, like you just said. What do we play now if we download it today?
So if you download it today, the game, when you run the game will decide based on like all of the parts in your computer. It'll put together a random seed that's different for every computer that you run it on.
Nice.
And based on that, it will decide which place it will put you. So this one doesn't actually like get the live data anymore. This one has a list of places around the world that I thought were quite interesting because the sea levels in the game are at the levels where they're projected to be in 2050. Oh, wow. So I picked a couple of locations around the world that have quite drastic change that you can then explore. So the game will pick a place for you and it will pick a climate zone for you. And so you might end up exploring, like Florida in a blizzard or the Siberian wilderness as a desert kind of thing. So just depending what the game decides for you.
And does it always change the same environment? Because you can enter these short like balls, and then like it always feels like time has passed over but is it is it the same scenery or is it just transferring you to another kind of location?
So the location is always the same on the computer that you're playing it on.
Yeah.
As like time passes in the game, the scenery changes because things grow around you, but the landscape stays the same.
Yeah, right. I had a question about like my person in this game, my role in this game, because I was I played it quite, how do you say, extensively, and I was wondering like what does the F button do? Why did this circle I suddenly create with this? What impact does this have impact on my environment or what things? I thought I push it and maybe more grows or something like, I don't know.
So the F button was a thing that I added pretty recently, actually. It's a so there's a couple of statues in the game that you can find, and they will basically give you a photo mode that will enable you to take photos inside the world, which when you take a photo in a world, it gets uploaded to the game's Twitter account, which is at a fleeting world. So all of the photos posted there are actually from people playing the game. And so if you haven't reached one of the statues, pressing F will kind of like put out a radar. And if you look around the sky, there'll be like a couple of lights coming up from the statues, kind of showing you the way.
Indeed. Yeah, you mentioned this that we were curious about the relation with the player, because it's really slow, like you said. So we had a couple of people testing it here, and that was too slow for them. So we had to reintroduce the player to the context. What's your experience with this? Did you? Yeah. What happened?
So the kind of reason behind the player being really slow is that there's two reasons for it. One is that I kind of wanted the game to be a little bit hostile towards the player, to be sort of resist being played. And I also wanted to kind of, for people who kind of are okay with the slowness of the game, to really force them to connect with the environment a lot more than if they were just kind of running through it.
Yeah.
So as you slowly walk through the world, you kind of leave footprints, and if you walk over those footprints again, they turn into paths. And it's just like this very slow experience where you're really slowly, step by step, kind of like moving through this landscape. And there's not much to do. There's not much going on. So you kind of have to really pay attention to the landscape, because there's like nothing else that's grabbing your attention.
But still, like Eike said, so it's resisting the player. I think it's a really beautiful expression. But when you were in the space, it's growing around you, so it's not. You don't have a negative effect on the environment, right?
No.
That's
right.
Yeah. So the only traces that you leave as a player is leaving these paths. So you can trample grass, but that's about it.
Yeah, I had it at first. I was like, okay, why am I not going faster? So I'm pushing shift a lot, and I was like, okay. But then I read about it, and I was like, yeah, that kind of makes sense.
Deal with it.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. I just had to deal with it. I must say, I jammed something between my W button, because like I was kind of, I was like, okay, I don't want to push this anymore. But then I did this, and then I was just like sort of floating around in this world, and trying to get to all this beautiful plants on the ground. And then at first I did not see if I had actually any impact, and then and indeed like stuff started to grow, but it takes all a little bit of time, and then it's like I could appreciate also a little bit more what was happening around me. So I used
to do the same when I was testing it, just jamming down the W button.
I don't know. It kind of made sense. So
and then
I actually added in a cheat code. So if you type in "gotta go fast," you can sprint with shift, and it's a really fast sprint. It's actually quite fun to just kind of like race across the dunes and just fly off.
We should not tell.
It's not quite the intention.
We shouldn't tell people. We shouldn't.
Nice.
I had I have so many questions, but like one of them is like I do not know a lot about tarot except the names of some of the tarot cards. So and I was actually amazed to find when I hit this little this sort of monolith-like sculptures in the surrounding, like that these would pop up as a sort of for me it made it more sort of mysterious why I'm there, because like at first I thought I'm like maybe I'm like an explorer or less but then I thought, okay, it's like a direct human link. What is the link with me and these cards? Those
That's
are
really
tarot
cool
cards, right?
They're not actually, but it's really cool that you made that connection, because like you're the first person to make that connection where it was kind of inspired by tarot cards, where you've got like the number and the name of it.
Yeah.
Except the 13 sort of characters that you kind of meet, those are all based on, they're all representing a different aspect of humanity's involvement in climate change.
Okay.
So there's, for example, I think it's number 9, maybe, the naked. That one represents deforestation. So like the altar that you go to is like kind of looks like these dead trees.
Yeah.
And the little poem that you get, the little story that you get with it is kind of like a story about how we're choking the air out of the planet by, cutting down all these trees and all the deforestation. And so each of those 13 altars kind of, represents a different aspect of this kind of thing. So there's deforestation, there's rubbish production, there's fascism. So all of these different contributors have different little poems and different little bits of architecture to go with them.
All right.
And they were inspired by tarot cards.
All right, cool, nice. So another one of the questions I had, like, can I explore all? Can I how big is this planet I'm on?
So the world is, I believe it's about 20 by 20 kilometers in real size.
Okay.
So the area that sample is 20 by 20, and the area inside the game is actually 20 by 20 as well. And so you can explore. Yeah, you can technically grow grass and grow plants on like those 20 by 20 kilometers, and then there's another 20 kilometers outside of that just kind of exist as backdrop, just in case of areas where there's mountains, so you can see the mountains in the distance.
Right.
Eventually, if you keep walking far enough, you will fall off the edge of the world, because I just didn't expect anyone to put in that effort to walk that long.
All right, that's the challenge now.
All right, I will jam back this thing into the W button, and I will just keep on walking in one direction forever. Okay, this is cool. I will. This is funny. I will try to do this.
Can we ask? We also found the version this to has passed. It's a darker version where it's it's in the night or at the end of all of this. Was it something you made before or something you made after?
So this too has passed is kind of like the version of the game without hope. The original intent for it was that you would get the USB stick, and that would have the files of the game on it, and you could plug the USB stick in and copy the files off and run the game, and that would run this to shall pass. If you were to keep the files and remove the USB stick from your computer and try to run the game then, it would run this to has passed. So it kind of came out of a thing of like me wanting to tie the game to the physical medium, but having something that happens when you play it without it.
Yeah.
So it ended up just being like this sort of very short, very condensed sort of version of the game that's, kind of a world without hope, as opposed to like this too shall pass is it's quite a hopeful game despite like all of the like sadness in it. Where this too has passed is kind of like this experience of look at this dark world where everyone has given up and no one's done anything, no one's fought for the future. And so as you explore this world, kind of instead of grass, light will just start spreading out. And eventually you get to the end where there's like a dead glowing tree where you go to, and it ends with a message of hope as well. That's basically, I don't remember the exact words, but in a nutshell, it's this is a potential future of many, and we can choose which one we want.
So I think maybe this is nice to dive into the content of this game. This interest, this using video games to talk about climate change. Is this something you do since always? Is this something which slowly happened? How did this invade your game world?
So in general, like my process of making art, like, video games, paintings, writing, all of those things is very, I start with a thing that I just think is a cool idea. And as it grows, I kind of start to see how it mirrors things in the real world, and like maybe mirrors experiences that I've had, or maybe it mirrors things that I've seen or things that I'm concerned about. And so I start noticing these things and start to pull them back into the thing that I'm working on. And it's a really cool process, I find, because like you end up with something that evolves in a way that you wouldn't expect it to start with, but it also like grows in meaning as you take in all of these things from all over the place. So in the case of This Too Shall Pass, it actually started as me really wanting to write a system that like lets you watch grass grow. And I ended up making that, and I played around with it a little bit, and I realized that it was just a really cool sort of base structure to build something around about climate change, about ecology. I think early on, I was thinking of making it into like a sort of more real-time strategy game where you have to place nature, and instead of building houses and conquering stuff, you just play as nature and you just grow. And then I played around with it some more and like played with a first-person controller where you would just walk through this world, and just realized that it was getting quite interesting. So I just developed it more into that direction, and then I just kind of like added a cool thing, and then I realized a way in which I could pull it back to something in the real world, and then it kind of like went back and forth like that.
Nice. It's also really interesting when you say in the beginning you wanted that the player plays nature, and now we are just it happens and it's around us, and we don't actually do this. And I think this is really nice, and it really resonates with all this discussion we had here during the festival of maybe we have to step back a little and stop controlling how everything grows, and give a bit more space to all these other entities that we are, a little bit heavy on. So that's a really nice, to see this also in your game. And I think I have to stop saying game. So this experience or this art project, because I see how this is not really a game at the end. Yeah.
I had a question about the USB sticks, because you said you sent them all over the world. How did you do this by a random process, or did you pre-select the places? How did this? Okay.
So a couple of variations of that. A couple of them I pre-selected because one of them, for example, went to France to some people that I had made games with in the past. So they got one of the keys. For a couple of them, I basically just put a message out on Twitter saying, hey, if you like live in a place in the world that's not New Zealand or Australia or Europe or America, like USA, get in touch and I'll send you a key.
All right.
So I've had someone get in touch from Mexico to whom I sent a key, which unfortunately got lost on the way.
Oh, shit.
And I have no idea what happened to it. Maybe someday it'll show up again. I'm very excited to see if it does. One of them went to Seattle to a friend of mine who kind of does a bit of journalism covering indie games. One of them went to France, and one of them went down to Wellington. Well, I think it got stuck as well because it was intended to kind of move to Australia and then like Southeast Asia from there. But that's just kind of the risk that I took with having like these unique physical pieces just going to different places and potentially getting stuck or disappearing.
Okay, so it's a pretty rare object that these people have. It's not. Nice. And now, so we can download the game. You said, is there a deadline? Because they were like the whole time. This you set up some deadlines with the. It was not supposed to stay really long. Now, what is the new deadline, or is this now for everybody?
So basically, the new deadline is what I like to call bit rot. So there's a couple of functions in the game that will only work as long as the servers and the services that they rely on work. Once those die, the game dies, and that's kind of intended. I assume it'll probably still be running for a couple of years. It could die tomorrow. I have no idea. But yeah, so basically once those services die, it's gone.
Yeah.
But it's kind of on a very long sort of like final stretch now.
All right.
And in the description of the game you read, like for every time like somebody buys a copy of this game, there will be a tree planted somewhere.
Yep.
How many trees have there been planted?
I can tell you.
All right.
So I'm just going to look it up. So I'm going for a website called Trees That Count. It's a New Zealand website who basically let you buy a tree and then they plant a tree for you.
Yeah.
So I went through there and.
And where are they planted?
In New Zealand.
So they're all planted in New Zealand. They're all New Zealand native trees. Yeah. Let me just find the right thing. Here we go. Planting summary. Got to do a little bit of maths. Bear with me, please. It's a quick addition.
Okay, so some. A lot.
So all up, 40 trees were planted so far.
Nice, nice.
You have a small jungle.
It's like a small little meadow.
Okay, so it's time to tell all our visitors, get the game, enjoy this walkthrough, and let's plant trees.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, that's nice. I think we have helped a few because we downloaded it on my computer, then another computer, so we have
There may be 5 of those trees, maybe mine, because I keep on forgetting my Edge password.
They're not yours. Nice. And how was it? Because I didn't realize before. I forgot when we found out about your project, but that was something in March last year, or we started to read about it. But then I saw you were also in Amaze in Berlin, and you also had this a presentation during Impact in Utrecht, actually. So you're really connected to Europe. Was this did this project bring you to many events or many places?
Yeah. It actually. So it got featured in the New Zealand Games Festival. It got featured at, I think it was Free Play in Australia, Impact in Utrecht, and Amaze in Germany. So it's it's really cool how it's just, been to all these places in the way that the game was kind of designed to be anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's really amazing. If obviously in any other year, I might have even been able to actually personally go to those places.
Yay!
I was just here, and it's all very much online.
Yeah, well, that's also special of this year.
And I had a question earlier. I wanted to ask earlier, but I kind of forgot. Would you consider yourself then an activist for climate change? Have people been asking you this, or is it just something you're interested in? And is it clear question?
Yes,
yeah,
of course.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if I guess I consider myself an activist. I try to do things. I try to make games that raise awareness about these things. But to be honest, I kind of do it more out of a more egocentric driven way of just processing all these things for myself, and kind of because it's such a big issue that just reading about it for me just doesn't really encapsulate how big it is. So my way of just processing through it and dealing with it and understanding with it and kind of coming to terms with what is happening and what we can do and all these things is just through making art about it, making games about it, and just exploring it through that. So while there's hopefully some good things coming from it, and some trees being planted, and hopefully some people like us talking about it, that's great.
Yeah.
The main intention for it really was just an exploration of what it means to me, and how to just work through it.
Right.
Nice. Thank you for like a really honest answer. Then I think, this is nice that from an egocentric idea, it actually spreads to all of us. So it's not staying there. I was curious also, maybe outside of this game, I saw that you were busy with a new project, which is also a little bit dark and also a little bit maybe against the player somehow. Can you tell us a bit about this?
Yeah, sure. So the new project is very similar start to how this 2 Shall Pass started. I started getting interested in virtual reality.
Nice.
And especially the way that you move in VR, because if you're familiar with it, like most games use teleporting, and it's always a little bit jarring. And some games just like you press a stick and like you move through space, and it feels really weird. So I wanted to experiment with different movement techniques in VR.
Okay.
Where I ended up settling on this kind of way of moving that's a game called Gorn uses it, where you press a button on the controller and it kind of locks you to the world in that position, and you pull the controller and you like move through the world like that. So it's like,
oh, wow.
It's very clumsy and it feels kind of bad, but it also, I find it like grounds you in the place because you're actually like physically moving yourself through the place. So I ended up playing around with that and wanting to explore that through a similar way in which Silent Hill kind of worked with the PlayStation 1, where, like super low draw distances, super clunky controls, really awkward, but somehow it all worked.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to explore a similar thing of that with VR, with like all of those limitations there. So I'm kind of working on a game now at the moment that's very much exploration of kind of the self and different ways in which we have to make choices throughout life. There's like topics of like gender and sexuality and friendships and all of those things throughout the game. And so I'm just kind of trying to blend that in with the awkward, clumsy virtual reality.
Whoa.
Cool.
Okay, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, definitely want to see this when it's ready. So
I played Silent Hill a lot on the PlayStation 1 back in those days. And I was a lot younger, obviously, so it freaked me out a bit. So I'm really curious how this will connect to moving within VR, which is also like still really clumsy often. So this is, I'm looking forward to it. It sounds super interesting.
Is this something you do by yourself, or you have a team with you, or I don't?
It's kind of like a very loose collection of people where I kind of run the project by myself, and then I've just got people all over the world who just jump in to help with like certain aspects of it. I have a friend in France who helps with some of the programming. I have a friend in the UK and Scotland who's a singer, so she's actually writing a soundtrack for it, which is really exciting.
Nice.
So it's just kind of people who kind of like jump on as they have time and as there's things that they can do, and so it's a very loose ragtag collection of people just working away on it.
Is this something you were doing already since a long time, or this because it to me make me think, this year everybody rediscovered the internet, we all realized we have friends all over the world and that we can do things thanks to these tools we have, or is it something you were doing anyway?
So living in New Zealand, the problem is that you are at the end of the world, and it's a very small place. So it just comes quite naturally to just work with people online and work with people overseas. There's a tiny little group of game developers called the Sand Gardeners who I've done a little bit of work with. Most notably a game called Brownie Cove Cancelled, which is a sort of experimental little game, also extremely clunky and feels quite horrible to play on purpose. where you're basically in this like surreal airport, and you can explore the airport, and there's like flying fish, and there's a graveyard of people who like waited too long, and there's a black hole room, and all of these things, and you're in this airport, and your flight gets cancelled, and you have to wait for 8 hours in real time for your flight to show up. So this is a group of people that I've made a couple of games with over the years. Like going back quite a way, it's a long story how we met. Like we both ran like fairly popular like comic pages on Facebook, and kind of like got to know each other through that, and realized we were both making games. And there's just been a lot of like online collaboration with like a lot of people, just making like really cool things, and working around time zones, you know, like you'd finish some work, send it off, go to bed, and then you wake up the next morning and like Dave taken it and done new stuff, and then you just
that's actually exciting. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, fascinating. You have
no, I think I'm through. Yeah, I think I have no more questions. I mean, I can talk about this forever, I think.
No, this is really nice. And how does it feel to, maybe last question, to talk about the exhibition of this festival? How do you feel to have your experience then inside our online exhibition? Does it make sense to you, or you to be there?
Yeah, it's so cool. It's like but for one, it's in really good company. Like the other games, like Evening Arcadia and stuff, like those are really cool games to be surrounded by as well. And like I gotta say, like this is like probably, if not the like one of my most favorite exhibition spaces, just through like the fact that it's so weird and so surreal, and like it has a really cool feeling to it that I feel represents the way in which I know probably a lot of people who are featured in the exhibition. It kind of like represents the way that we work, which is very like sort of loose, and like I compare it to sketching, where you know, as opposed to like someone painting the Mona Lisa on like a beautiful oil painting, a lot of those games just feel like they're just like really cool rough sketches, like put together, just being like people being like super creative and super loose and just like getting stuff out there.
Yeah.
And so like it kind of mirrors that, which I think is really cool.
Nice. We go. You're welcome. I don't know if it fits to your time. No, this will not work for you. Or it's Sunday. No, Sunday. It's the last day of the festival, and we invited everybody to come to the exhibition together to fly around together and look for it last time. But it's at 5:00 in the afternoon for us. So that would be your 5:00 in the morning, I guess. That might be a really a big challenge. But yeah, because the exhibition is closing on Sunday evening, and then only the special people, so us, can visit it with a password, because then all those artwork can't stay just for everybody all the time. So that's
amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I'll see. Maybe I can make it. I'm on extended holiday now, so I can sleep in afterwards. So, yeah.
Nice. Cool. So maybe we see you Sunday. Yeah. And thank you very much for now. That was super nice and really interesting.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Yeah.
So we have a lot of things to look at, and have a good evening.
Yeah.
And we're gonna start our day program.
Yay.
Awesome. Yeah, you enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
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 Offline? Oh, I thought we were already offline. We're not offline?
Just say bye.
All right, just say bye. Okay, thank you everybody for watching this super awesome interview. Okay, this is like this.
We're little hick here.
Exactly.
We're back.
Exactly, and we're back. And
today we have a full program with music the whole afternoon from 1 to 6, and then at 8:00 we watch Hanuman versus 7 Ultraman. And then you can create all this mask for all the people who have the Overkill, or if you don't have it, just take a lot of things in your house, and we're going to create these super cool outfits for ourselves. And then we hope we have beautiful group pictures with all kind of kaiju. This is why this little guy is here, actually, to inspire you this whole week. And this is what we do today, right? After
No, we
the
have
film.
modular synthesizer the whole day.
I just said this, that
You-
we have
you
music
did
the
not
whole
say this.
afternoon. Yes, I said this. We have really cool guests the whole afternoon making music with cables. And then we watch the film. And tomorrow we have a shader showdown, first time for the Overkill. We actually don't exactly know how it works, so we're going to discover this. That is people coding visual during live music. And it's tomorrow a jam, so they do this bit together. And at 5 o'clock tomorrow is the last tour in our online exhibition. So if you want to join us and that we get all together to look at all this beautiful artwork a last time before we close this exhibition and this festival. But that was it for now, right?
Was it this for now?
Was it
We're
this for
asking
now?
our technician. What's this?
This was a
Thank
really
you,
cool
Chris. Thank you,
experience,
Chris.
I have to say.
This was really
cool.
nice. Actually, I
Really
like this a
interesting
lot.
experience.
Yes.
Yeah, me too. I love to do this.
All right.
If you want to be interviewed by Ike and me, just ask. We can do this all day.
You mean like if you want to be awkwardly mumbled at, then yes, you come to this interview.
Should we stop this stream? I don't know.
I don't know,
What do
maybe.
you say, chat? Should we stop talking?
Yes, chat says stop talking.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.